Hi guys, and welcome back to the show. Today, doing another big box unboxing. This is my first Axminster trade product, so I'm a bit excited about that. And this specific one is the AT330ST. It's a thicknesser with a spiral cutting head. So it'll be really exciting to see how it works. Luke, I am Nomad Makes. In the box we have the user's manual, a box of replacement carbide blades that they were kind enough not to fill up, some screws and the crank for setting the thickness. A torque wrench, and if you've seen Peter Parfitt's video at the New Brit workshop about the straight knife version of this machine, he made a comment about the fact that Axminster needed to supply a shorter tool than the Torque's screwdrivers, so I guess the guys at Axminster listened to him. Anyway, they also included 2 T25 screwdrivers for some reason. Being sold via Axminster, this has the British connector. And to not get any warranty issues, I will be using an adapter. These are the specs for the thicknesser. Notice that the planer needs a massive 1000 cubic meters an hour, and that it has a capacity of 33 millimeters or just shy of 13 inches. Here you see that angry cutter head mirrored in the bed. We will be getting back to this later. The infeed and outfeed tables are for some reason not level with the infeed rollers. I don't know why, but this seems to be a feature rather than a bug. When I folded the sticky note, I felt resistance between the bed and the straight edge, so it sags a tiny bit, but I don't know if this affects the cut results. These screws are used to adjust the height of the infeed rollers to that of the bed, and to get back at baby Vader I took the opportunity to whack him on the head with the infeed table.
Inform the commander that Lord Vader's shuttle has arrived.
Now let's take a look at the business end. The spiral cutter head makes a shearing cut instead of the scraping cut you get with straight knives. This is supposed to leave you with a nicer surface, and the chips are smaller, which is better for chip collection. The knives are made of carbide, and if you run a board with a hidden nail through the planer, you only have to change the affected blades. And these ones have 4 sharp edges that can be used before they need to be changed. The most important feature of the spiral cutters, though, is that they are better at cutting against the grain. There is a depth stop mechanism on the front that for some ungodly reason is in inches, so it is next to useless. But if you're feeling particularly imperial, you can micro adjust it on the screw underneath. It looks like the Star Wars pod race is not the only thing that is inspired by Pinchcliffe. This brake locks the head to the 4 posts, and I believe this will reduce snipe. As part of what causes snipe on the lunchbox thicknessers are that when the aft roller bearing loses contact with the workpiece, the head can tilt ever so slightly backwards, which is also why sending a sacrificial boards after your workpiece works for reducing snipe. So I believe this Il Tempo Gigante braking system reduces snipe as well as helps you maintaining the depth of cut. There is a plastic skirt under the front edge, and it is quite rigid. Why it's made like that, I don't know. Maybe it helps guide the board. As you can see, I need to push with a little bit of force on the board to push it through the skirt. Chip collection was appalling for me, but my collector has less than 20% of the needed suction. I have since mounted 2 chip collectors in parallel, but I have to get back to you on whether that gives a sufficient result or not. On the table saw it works like a charm. The test piece was parallel to about 2/100ths of a millimeter, but I believe this is really outside of the ability of these calipers to measure, at least when I'm holding them like this. And I wasn't able to measure any noticeable snipe. Any deviation could as easily have been because of a wood chip under the board while I sent it through as from the machine itself. In a raking light, the surface looks a tiny bit fuzzy, but I guess that's how pine looks when cut like this. From my experience so far, white oak comes out really nice. There is a depth of cut gauge on the front of the head, but using it seems to give me too deep of a cut. As the spiral head puts more load on the motor, I found that I needed thin passes on white oak. But the main reason for doing really thin passes is that I struggle a bit getting the roller bearings to pull the boards through. If you have any experience or suggestions why this happens, please let me know in the comments below. I am by no means excluding user error here. Since my chip collection was so lackluster, I blew out the chips with an air gun when I got close to the final cuts, and that seemed to work well. The pin for one of the top rollers fell out after a while, and it landed on the cutter shield. Luckily it was caught there, as this could have been ugly. It actually happened twice, but then I helped it seat with a few taps from the hammer, and since it has stayed in place. The species of white oak I'm milling here is called English oak, and it is for my Craftsman turntable stand / Credenza. I will link to the first video in that build in the video description, and probably up in the right corner of the screen as well. So let's sum up my first impressions of this machine. It's a great cut on crazy grained white oak, which I think is fantastic. It has very little to no snipe, thanks to the Il Tempo Gigante brake, if you remember to use it, that is. However, I've found that I need to take really light passes for the roller bearings to be able to pull the workpiece through. I may amend this later as I get more experience using the machine though. The depth stop is for some ungodly reason in inches, and the depth gauge does not seem to be working properly. Again, this may be due to user error, and I will get back to you on this after I have used the machine in anger. And also the guide skirt is really rigid, and I struggle to figure out why. All in all, I am very happy with the machine so far, but please bear in mind that this is in no way a review, just my first impressions after having used it for milling what it takes for one Credenza style project, and only using white oak. But again, that is it for today guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to leave a thumbs up. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. Should you want to support me, you will find a Patreon link and affiliate links to products I use and recommend below. If you don't feel like that, you can always help by telling your friends about the channel on your social media of choice. Cheers guys, and I'll get back to you in the next one.